The empty bed told me everything I needed to know about my marriage, but I wasn't ready to listen yet. I rolled over, expecting to find Cassandra curled up beside me, maybe even expecting birthday morning closeness since it was her 35th. Instead, I found cold sheets and a hastily scrawled note on hotel stationery. Be back tomorrow, don't wait up. C. Happy birthday to you too, sweetheart, I muttered to the empty room. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. My name is Julian Albright, and I'm a software engineer who should have seen the signs earlier. But when you're debugging code for 12 hours a day, you miss the bugs in your own life. I grabbed my phone, hoping for some explanation, and found a single text from Cassandra sent at 2:47 a.m. Be back tomorrow, don't wait up. The same message as the note. Efficient, cold, very Cassandra. I stumbled downstairs to make coffee, my mind racing through possibilities. Emergency at work, family crisis, but then why the hotel stationery? I pulled up our joint credit card account on my laptop, a habit from my paranoid programmer days. There it was, 1,847 tau charged to the Zenith Resort yesterday at 3:15 p.m. The Zenith wasn't exactly a business meeting location. It was where rich people went to pretend they were richer, complete with infinity pools and champagne that cost more per bottle than most people's car payments. I'd never been there, but I'd driven past it enough times to know it screamed romantic getaway. My coffee tasted like ash. The front door opened around 9 p.m. the next evening. Cassandra walked in like she owned the place, which technically she did. Her name was on the mortgage, too. She looked refreshed, glowing even, wearing a sundress I'd never seen before. Hey, she said casually, dropping her overnight bag by the stairs. How was your day? Fine, I replied, watching her carefully. How was yours? And yesterday's, for that matter? She shrugged, heading to the kitchen. I needed some space, time to think. On your birthday? Especially on my birthday. She opened the refrigerator, grabbed a bottle of wine. I'm 35, Julian. I'm allowed to make decisions without consulting you first. I wasn't aware I was consulting material. I thought I was your husband. Cassandra poured herself a generous glass of Pinot Grigio. You are, but I'm also my own person. I don't need permission to take a day for myself. The word permission hit me wrong, like she was talking to an overbearing parent instead of the man she'd married 6 years ago. I stood up, walked over to her, and pulled her into what I hoped looked like a loving embrace. You're right, I said softly, kissing her forehead. I'm glad you had a good time. She relaxed into my arms, and I felt her phone in her back pocket. While she hugged me back, I gently slipped it out, palming it like a magician. Years of handling delicate computer components had made my fingers surprisingly nimble. I'm going to take a shower, she said, pulling away. Long drive? Take your time, I replied, already heading toward my home office in the basement. Her phone was still unlocked. She'd always been careless about security. I quickly navigated to her Instagram, looking for anything from yesterday. Nothing on her main feed, but her story showed she'd viewed several posts from friends. Then I found Tiffany's story. Tiffany Black had been Cassandra's best friend since college, and she documented every moment of her life like she was running for office. Her story from yesterday was a goldmine of boomerang videos and carefully filtered selfies. Most were typical Tiffany: cocktails, designer sunglasses, complaints about the weather. But then I saw it. A boomerang video of Cassandra by a pool, clinking champagne glasses with two men. The timestamp matched her absence perfectly. One of the men was tagged, Russo, realtor. I screenshotted everything. In another boomerang, Cassandra's hand was resting on Dom's thigh while she laughed at something off camera. The intimacy was unmistakable. This wasn't a business meeting or a casual encounter with strangers. Next time, cheat with someone whose friend isn't a social media addict, I whispered to myself. I heard the shower start upstairs and knew I had maybe 10 minutes. I connected her phone to my computer and started downloading everything I could access: photos, messages, call logs. Her cloud backup was synced to the same account we used for family photos, and I had the password. That's when I found the videos Tiffany had taken but not posted publicly. The first one showed Cassandra reading my worried texts aloud in a mocking voice. Hope you're having a good day, honey. Call me when you get a chance. Love you. The men laughed, and Dom said something that made Cassandra snort with laughter. The second video was worse. Cassandra was talking to the camera, clearly drunk. Julian thinks I'm at some boring real estate conference. He's so clueless. Just sits in that basement all day fixing other people's problems while ignoring his own. Dom appeared in the frame, putting his arm around her. Boring husbands make the best cover stories. They all laughed. I sat in my basement office, watching my wife mock our marriage while another man's hands roamed her body. The timestamp showed this was recorded around the time I was calling her, worried she might have been in an accident. I watched the videos 3 more times, taking screenshots and saving everything to multiple locations. My programmer brain was already working, cataloging evidence, planning next steps. But underneath the cold logic, something else was building. Rage. Not the hot, explosive kind that makes you punch walls or scream. The cold, calculating kind that makes you very, very dangerous. I heard the shower turn off upstairs and quickly returned her phone to exactly where I'd found it. When Cassandra came downstairs 20 minutes later, hair still damp and wearing one of my old t-shirts, I was sitting on the couch watching Netflix. "What are you watching?" she asked, curling up next to me like nothing had happened. "Just some documentary," I replied, putting my arm around her. "About people who think they're smarter than they actually are." She laughed, not getting the irony. "Sounds boring." "Oh, it's fascinating," I said, kissing the top of her head. "You'd be surprised how many people destroy their own lives just because they think no one is paying attention." Cassandra was already half asleep, exhausted from her day of betrayal. I sat there in the dark, holding my cheating wife, watching the documentary flicker on the screen. If she thought I was just a broken piece of code that could be ignored, she was about to learn what a true system crash looked like. The next morning, Cassandra left for work, like nothing had happened. She kissed me goodbye, told me she loved me, and reminded me to pick up groceries. The normalcy of it all made my skin crawl. I called in sick to work, something I'd done maybe 3 times in my entire career, and spent the day building a case like I was preparing for trial. First stop, Riley Chen's auto shop. Riley had been my roommate in college, back when I thought I might major in mechanical engineering instead of computer science. He was the kind of guy who could fix anything with an engine and never asked too many questions about why you needed something fixed. "Julian." He wiped his greasy hands on a rag and grinned. "What brings you to my palace of broken dreams and overpriced repairs?" "I need a favor," I said, "and it's probably not entirely legal." His grin widened. "My favorite kind of favor." "What do you need?" I explained the situation in broad terms. Cheating wife, need to track someone's movements, nothing violent. Riley listened, nodding occasionally, his expression growing more serious. "You want to put a GPS tracker on this Dom guy's car?" "Something like that." Riley disappeared into his office and came back with a small magnetic device about the size of a matchbox. "Battery lasts about 2 weeks. Tracks in real time through an app. Technically, it's for tracking your own vehicle if it gets stolen. And if it's not your own vehicle, then it's probably illegal surveillance." He handed me the device and a burner phone with the tracking app already installed. "But I never saw you today, and you never asked me about this." "Asked you about what?" "Exactly." From Riley's shop, I drove to the Rusty Anchor, a dive bar that served as the unofficial gossip headquarters for our little suburban community. It was barely noon, but Big Mike was already behind the bar, polishing glasses and preparing for the lunch crowd. "Julian, don't usually see you in here during daylight hours." "Thought I'd try something new," I said, ordering a beer I didn't want. "You hear much about what goes on at the Zenith Resort?" Big Mike's eyes lit up. He loved gossip more than most people loved their children. "The Zenith? Fancy place? Why, you thinking of taking Cassandra there for an anniversary?" "Something like that. I heard it's popular with the real estate crowd." "Oh yeah, those folks love it. Just yesterday I saw that Dom Russo picking up some woman whose car broke down. Headed straight for the Zenith, if you ask me." He leaned closer conspiratorially. "Between you and me, that Dom's got quite the reputation. Married man who acts single, if you know what I mean." I kept my expression neutral. "Really? What kind of reputation?" "Let's just say his business meetings often involve hotel rooms and women who aren't his wife." Big Mike straightened up as other customers walked in. "But hey, that's just bar talk. You know how people gossip." I finished my beer and left a generous tip. "Thanks for the conversation, Mike. Anytime, Julian, say hi to Cassandra for me." "I'll do that." Back home, I spent the afternoon diving deeper into Dom Russo's digital footprint. As a realtor, he had a significant online presence, professional website, social media accounts, client testimonials, but the more I dug, the more interesting things became. Dom worked for Premier Properties, a high-end real estate firm that competed directly with Cassandra's company, Horizon Realty. In the real estate world, that made them natural enemies, not natural allies. So what were they doing together at the Zenith? I cross-referenced their recent listings and found something curious. 3 properties that Dom had shown in the past month were previously listed with Horizon Realty. 2 of them had been Cassandra's listings specifically. Client poaching. In the real estate world, that was serious business. Agents had lost their licenses for less. I started building a timeline, cross-referencing Cassandra's work calendar with Dom's social media posts and the credit card charges I could access. A pattern emerged. They'd been meeting regularly for at least 2 months, always at upscale locations, always charged to our joint account. My wife wasn't just cheating on me, she was potentially committing professional suicide in the process. The front door opened around 6 p.m. Cassandra walked in carrying takeout from our favorite Thai restaurant, a peace offering, though she didn't know she needed one yet. "Thought we could have a nice dinner together," she said, setting the bags on the kitchen counter. "I know I've been distracted lately." "Distracted by what?" I asked, helping her unpack the food. She paused just for a second. "Work stuff. You know how crazy the market's been." "Right, work stuff." I opened a bottle of wine, poured 2 glasses. "Speaking of work, how's the competition with Premier Properties? I heard they've been aggressive lately." Cassandra's hand froze halfway to her wine glass. "Where did you hear that?" "Around. You know how people talk." I sat down across from her, watching her face carefully. "Apparently that Dom Russo guy has quite the reputation." "Dom's he's very successful. People are jealous." "I'm sure they are." I took a sip of wine. "Must be nice to work with someone so successful." "I don't work with him," she said quickly. "We're competitors." "Of course, my mistake." We ate in relative silence, but I could see the wheels turning in Cassandra's head. She was wondering what I knew, how much I'd figured out. Good. Let her wonder. After dinner, she went upstairs to take a bath. Another unusual behavior for a Tuesday night. While she soaked, I accessed her work calendar through the shared computer we used for household finances. There it was. Weekend planning session, Zenith Resort conference room. Scheduled for this coming Saturday and Sunday. Another work trip, another lie. I screenshotted the calendar entry and added it to my growing file of evidence. Then I did something that would have horrified me a week ago. I remotely accessed Cassandra's car through the manufacturer's app. Modern cars are basically computers with wheels, and Cassandra's BMW was no exception. The app let owners start the engine remotely, check fuel levels, and even disable the vehicle if it was stolen. With a few keystrokes, I programmed a delayed shutdown for Thursday morning. Nothing dangerous, just enough to strand her somewhere inconvenient. If she needed Dom's help, I wanted to see how quickly he'd come running. I heard Cassandra getting out of the bath and quickly closed all the incriminating browser tabs. When she came downstairs in her robe, I was innocently reading news articles on my phone. "I'm thinking of going away this weekend," she said casually. "Tiffany wants to do a spa thing." "That sounds nice," I replied without looking up. "Where are you thinking?" "Just somewhere local, nothing fancy." "The Zenith has a good spa, I hear." She went very still. "How would you know that?" "Google reviews." I looked up at her and smiled. "You should check it out. I hear their weekend packages are very intimate." Cassandra stared at me for a long moment, trying to read my expression. "Maybe I will." "You should. You deserve some independence." That night, I lay awake listening to Cassandra's breathing, planning my next moves. She thought she was playing chess while I played checkers. But she was wrong about which game we were playing. This wasn't chess, this was programming, and I was about to execute the most elegant code of my life. Thursday morning arrived with the precision of a well-timed algorithm. I left for work at my usual time, kissed Cassandra goodbye, and told her I'd probably be late. Big project timeline. All true, except I wasn't going to the office. Instead, I parked 3 blocks away and waited. At 9:23 a.m., my phone buzzed with a notification from Cassandra's car app. Vehicle shutdown activated due to technical malfunction. At 9:24 a.m., my personal phone rang. "Julian, my car just shut off in the middle of the road. It won't start, and there's no warning lights or anything. Can you come get me?" "I'm in a meeting," I said, injecting just enough concern into my voice. "Where are you?" "On Maple Street, near the coffee shop. This is so weird. The car was running fine, and then it just stopped." "That is weird. Do you want me to call a tow truck?" "No, I'll figure something out. Don't worry about it." "Are you sure? I can reschedule?" "No, really, I'll handle it. Love you." She hung up before I could respond. I drove to a position where I could see Maple Street and waited. Sure enough, within 10 minutes, a silver Porsche pulled up behind Cassandra's disabled BMW. Dom Russo got out, all concerned chivalry and expensive cologne. Even from a distance, I could see the body language, the way he put his hand on her lower back, the way she leaned into him, the way they looked at each other before getting into his car. I followed them at a safe distance. Not that it mattered. They were too wrapped up in each other to notice surveillance. Yeah, they went to a small cafe downtown, the kind of place where people went to have conversations they didn't want overheard. I parked across the street and used my phone's camera to zoom in on their table by the window. They were holding hands. Dom was stroking her wrist with his thumb. Cassandra was laughing at something he said, that genuine laugh she used to save for me. After an hour, they left the cafe and drove to Dom's condo complex. Expensive, modern, the kind of place that screamed successful bachelor pad. They disappeared inside, and I knew I wouldn't see them for a while. I drove home, remotely reactivated Cassandra's car, and waited for the next phase. She came home around 4 p.m., looking flustered and guilty. "How was your car situation?" I asked innocently. "Oh, it was the weirdest thing. I called roadside assistance, and when the guy got there, it started right up. He said sometimes the computer systems just glitch." Computer glitch, imagine that. Yeah, anyway, I managed to get to all my appointments. Busy day? I'm sure it was. That evening, I made my first direct move. While Cassandra was in the shower, I created a bouquet of her favorite flowers, white roses, and attached a card. For someone who values her independence, enjoy your freedom. Someone who's paying attention. I had it delivered to her office the next morning. The call came at 10:47 a.m. "Julian, did you send me flowers?" "Flowers? No, why?" "Someone sent me white roses with a weird note. It's probably just a client or something." "What did the note say?" "Nothing important, just strange wording." Well, you do have secret admirers, apparently." "It's not funny, Julian. It's actually kind of creepy. I'm sure it's harmless. Maybe someone from that real estate conference you went to?" Long pause. "Maybe." That afternoon, I got a call from an unexpected source. Ms. Patricia Holloway, the managing broker at Horizon Realty. "Mr. Albright, this is Pat Holloway, Cassandra's boss. I was wondering if you might have a few minutes to chat." "Of course. Is everything all right?" "Well, that's what I'm trying to determine. We've received some concerning information about potential client interference, and Cassandra's name has come up. I was hoping you might have some insight into her recent activities." My heart rate spiked, but I kept my voice steady. "What kind of client interference?" "The kind that could result in license suspension if proven." "Look, I don't want to get into details over the phone, but has Cassandra mentioned anything about working with agents from other firms, particularly Premier Properties?" "Not that I can think of. She's been working a lot lately, but she doesn't usually discuss specific clients with me." "I see. Well, if anything comes to mind, please give me a call. We're trying to handle this internally before it becomes a bigger issue." After she hung up, I sat in my office, staring at the phone. Someone else was investigating Cassandra and Dom's activities. This was either very good news or very bad news, depending on how much they knew and how quickly they moved. I decided to accelerate my timeline. That evening, I suggested we go to the Rusty Anchor for dinner, something we'd done maybe twice in our entire marriage. Cassandra seemed surprised, but agreed. Big Mike greeted us like old friends, and we took a table near the bar. The place was busy for a Friday night, filled with the usual crowd of locals and regulars. "This is nice," Cassandra said, looking around nervously. "Different." I thought we should try something new, break out of our routine. We ordered drinks and appetizers, making small talk about work and weekend plans. Cassandra mentioned her spa weekend with Tiffany again, and I nodded supportively. "The Zenith Resort, right?" I said casually. She nearly choked on her wine. "What?" "For your spa weekend. I looked it up online. They have great reviews for their spa services." We haven't decided on a location yet." "Well, if you do choose the Zenith, you should try the couples massage. I hear it's very intimate." Cassandra stared at me across the table, and I could see the exact moment she realized I knew something. Her face went pale, then flushed red. "Julian, what are you trying to say?" "I'm not trying to say anything. I'm saying it directly." I leaned forward, lowering my voice. "I know about Dom Russo. I know about the Zenith. I know about the client poaching and the fake business meetings and the way you mocked me to your new boyfriend while I was home worried sick about you." The color drained from her face completely. "I don't know what you think you know, but I know everything, Cassandra. Instagram stories, credit card records, work calendars, the whole digital trail you left behind because you thought I was too stupid or too buried in my code to notice." She looked around the bar, suddenly aware that we were having this conversation in public. "Can we please discuss this at home?" "Why?" Because you need permission to have difficult conversations in public? That's not... You're twisting my words. Am I? I pulled out my phone and showed her one of Tiffany's Instagram screenshots. Because this looks pretty clear to me. Cassandra grabbed for the phone, but I pulled it back. Several people at nearby tables were starting to stare. You're making a scene, she hissed. No, I said, standing up and raising my voice just enough for the surrounding tables to hear. You made the scene. I'm just commenting on the performance. I threw a 20 on the table and walked toward the bar. Big Mike was watching the whole thing with obvious interest. Hey, Mike, I said loudly. Drinks for everyone. I'm celebrating my independence. A cheer went up from the regulars at the bar. Behind me, I heard Cassandra's chair scrape against the floor as she stood up. Julian, please. I turned around to face her, and the entire bar went quiet. Please what, Cassandra? Please pretend I didn't see you with another man. Please ignore the fact that you've been stealing clients with your boyfriend. Please keep being the boring husband who pays the bills while you play house with Dom Russo. The silence was deafening. Cassandra's eyes filled with tears, but I felt nothing. Please, she whispered. No, I said simply. No more pleases, no more permissions, no more pretending. I walked out of the bar, leaving Cassandra standing there in front of half the town, her secrets exposed and her carefully constructed lies crumbling around her. Behind me, I heard Big Mike's voice. Well, that was better than cable TV. The laughter that followed was the sweetest sound I'd heard in months. Saturday morning, Cassandra was gone when I woke up. No note this time, but I knew where she was. The GPS tracker I'd placed on Dom's car the day before showed he was at the Zenith Resort, and I was willing to bet my wife was with him. I made coffee and opened my laptop. Time for the final phase. First, I compiled everything I had. Screenshots, videos, financial records, timeline documentation. I organized it into a comprehensive folder that told the complete story of Cassandra and Dom's affair and their professional misconduct. Then I sent it anonymously to 3 people, Ms. Holloway at Horizon Realty, the Ethics Board for the State Real Estate Commission, and Dom's wife. Yes, Dom was married. That little detail had emerged during my research into his background. Mrs. Elena Russo, married 15 years, 2 kids, active in the PTA and local charity organizations. She deserved to know what her husband was doing with his free time. The emails were sent from an untraceable account with a simple message. Thought you should know what's really going on. By noon, my phone was ringing. Julian, what did you do? Cassandra's voice was panicked, desperate. I'm not sure what you mean. Dom's wife showed up at the hotel. She had photos, Julian. She had evidence. How did she get evidence? Maybe someone who cares about the truth sent it to her. This isn't funny. She's threatening to ruin both of us. Dom's talking about lawyers and lawsuits and... Sounds like you two have a lot to figure out. Julian, please, we need to talk. I'm coming home. No, I said firmly. You're not. What do you mean I'm not? I mean you don't live here anymore. I had the locks changed this morning. The silence stretched for nearly 30 seconds. You can't do that. It's my house, too. Actually, I can. Check your email. I sent you the legal documents. The house was purchased with my inheritance money, and the deed is in my name only. You have 30 days to remove your belongings. Julian, you can't be serious. I'm completely serious. Oh, and Cassandra, you might want to call your boss. I have a feeling she's going to want to discuss your recent business activities. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. The rest of Saturday was blissfully quiet. I spent the day cleaning house, literally and figuratively. I boxed up Cassandra's belongings, changed passwords on all our shared accounts, and transferred all the money from our joint accounts to my personal account, legally, since I was the primary account holder and sole income source. Sunday morning brought the first consequences. The local newspaper ran a small item in their business section. 2 local realtors under investigation for client interference. No names were mentioned, but in a town our size, everyone would know exactly who they meant by Monday. My phone rang around noon. Riley. Dude, you need to see the news. I saw it. No, not the newspaper. Turn on Channel 7. I flipped to the local news station just in time to catch the tail end of a story about a domestic disturbance at the Zenith Resort that had resulted in police being called to mediate between an estranged wife and her husband's alleged mistress. The reporter didn't use names, but they showed footage of Dom's Porsche being towed from the hotel parking lot. Apparently, Elena Russo had taken a baseball bat to it before the police arrived. Holy shit, Julian. Your wife picked the wrong guy to cheat with. Ex-wife, I corrected. And yeah, she really did. Monday brought the final act. I was back at work, trying to focus on actual code instead of the code I'd been writing for my personal life, when my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "This is Elena Russo. Can we meet? I have something that belongs to you." We met at a coffee shop downtown, the same one where I'd watched Cassandra and Dom hold hands just a few days earlier. Elena was a small, fierce woman with the kind of controlled anger that comes from years of practice. "Your wife destroyed my family," she said without preamble. "Ex-wife, and I'm sorry for what you're going through." "Are you?" She studied my face carefully. "Because the person who sent me those photos and videos did me a favor. A painful favor, but a favor nonetheless. I'm glad someone cared enough about the truth to share it." Elena smiled grimly and slid a manila envelope across the table. "Dom kept trophies, photos, videos, text messages. He thought I didn't know about his little collection, but I've known about his affairs for years. I just never had proof before." I opened the envelope and found dozens of photos and printed text messages between Dom and Cassandra, dating back months. Some were explicit. Others were just intimate in a way that made my stomach turn. "Why are you giving me these?" "Because you're going to need them for the divorce, and because Dom's going to try to blame everything on Cassandra to save his own career. Men like him always do." She stood up to leave, then paused. "For what it's worth, your wife talked about you in those messages. She said you were boring, predictable, that you never surprised her." I guess she was wrong about that. Elena actually laughed. I guess she was. That afternoon, I received a call from Ms. Holloway. "Mr. Albright, I wanted to update you on the situation with Cassandra. We've completed our investigation, and I'm afraid we had to terminate her employment immediately. The evidence of client interference was overwhelming." "I'm sorry to hear that." "I'm also required to report this to the state licensing board. It's likely that Cassandra will lose her real estate license permanently." "That seems like a natural consequence of her choices." "Indeed it does. I hope you know that none of this reflects on you personally. Cassandra made her own decisions." "Yes, she did." Tuesday evening, I was grilling dinner on my back patio when a car pulled into my driveway. Cassandra got out, looking haggard and desperate. She'd been staying at a hotel since I'd changed the locks, and it showed. "Julian, please, we need to talk." "No, we don't. I lost my job. I'm probably going to lose my license. Dom won't return my calls. His wife is threatening to sue me for alienation of affection." "That sounds like a lot of consequences for your actions." "I made a mistake." "No," I interrupted. "A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the store. What you did was make a series of deliberate choices over several months, all designed to humiliate and betray me while I supported you financially and emotionally." Tears were streaming down her face now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Can't we try to work this out?" I looked at her, really looked at her, and felt nothing. No love, no hate, no anger. Just emptiness where my feelings for her used to be. "Cassandra, do you remember what you said to me that first night, when you came back from the Zenith?" "I don't." "You said you didn't need permission to make your own decisions. You were right. You don't need permission to destroy your life, betray your marriage, or throw away your career for a man who won't even take your phone calls now that his wife knows the truth." I walked toward the house, then stopped and turned back. "But here's the thing you never understood. I don't need permission either. I don't need permission to protect myself, to demand better, or to walk away from someone who thinks I'm boring and predictable and stupid." "Julian, you wanted freedom, Cassandra. You wanted independence. You wanted to make your own choices without consulting anyone. Congratulations. You're completely free now." I went inside and locked the door behind me. Through the window, I watched her stand in my driveway for nearly 10 minutes, sobbing. Finally, she got back in her car and drove away. I never saw her again. The divorce was finalized 3 months later. Cassandra didn't contest anything. She couldn't afford a lawyer, and the evidence against her was overwhelming. I kept the house, the savings, and my dignity. Dom Russo lost his real estate license and his marriage. Last I heard, he was selling used cars in another state. Tiffany Black deleted all her social media accounts after being subpoenaed to provide evidence in Elena Russo's divorce proceedings. Apparently, documenting other people's crimes isn't as fun when you become part of the legal record. 6 months after the divorce was final, I ran into Big Mike at the grocery store. "Julian, how's the independent life treating you?" "Can't complain, Mike. How's business?" Good. You know, people still talk about that night at the bar. Best entertainment we've had in years." Glad I could provide some excitement. "You know what the funny thing is?" Mike leaned on his shopping cart conspiratorially. "Everyone always said you were the quiet type. Boring, even. Turns out they were wrong about that." I smiled and pushed my cart toward the checkout. Yeah, they really were. That night, I sat on my back patio with a beer, watching the sunset and thinking about choices and consequences and the difference between being boring and being underestimated. My phone buzzed with a notification from my dating app. I'd started seeing someone new, a teacher named Sarah who thought programmers were interesting and never once used the word boring to describe me. Cassandra had been wrong about a lot of things, but she'd been right about one. I didn't need permission to make my own decisions. I just wished it hadn't taken me so long to figure that out.